interesting twist. That's how OSU coach Mike Gundy started his post-game remarks way back in the summer of 2005 when the Cowboys were trying to decide whether to play Donovan Woods or Bobby Reed at quarterback. Today, we know what that interesting twist was. From the Dodge Sports Desk, I'm Mike Sherman, and this is OSU Football with Scott Wright. Scott, you wrote about it today in the Oklahoman and on News OK. What was Gundy's interesting twist?
Well, way back in 2005, when Zach Robinson was just a true freshman and only been on campus for a few weeks at that point, he was ready to name him the starting quarterback. It was mid-August before the 2005 season even got going, his first year as the coach, and he was ready to go with the young kid. He had seen him, he told a story of when they were recruiting him, and Zach Robinson has some family, obviously, in Oklahoma. His mom just happened to bring him down for a camp in the summer when Les Miles was still the coach, and Gundy was out there at this camp and gets on the phone on the first day and says, Les, you got to come watch this kid. And they were impressed with him right away. At that point, Zach hadn't even become a quarterback yet. He was playing wide receiver at his high school, but he'd been a quarterback off and on, and so nobody was really recruiting him as a quarterback at that point. But Gundy fell in love with him really early on, and he was ready to name him the starter before that first season in 2005.
Well, love at first sight. Now, why do you think Gundy didn't just go ahead and do it?
Well, I think that he realized that, this is my first time kind of running the show here, and maybe I overreacted a little bit. Maybe I need to step back and make sure that I'm doing what's best. If you go with a true freshman, especially when you've got your returning starter and a redshirt freshman who you're really excited about, both on campus battling for the job, and you skip over both of them and go with a true freshman, you don't know what kind of growing pains you're going to be in for. And that 2005 season, they didn't have a whole lot to work with anyway. So I think that going with a guy that you had on campus for a year or two was probably the safer thing.
Now, as we look back, Gundy did kind of back up after that. In the days after this, there's an interesting twist. And that was really something he was very coy about it. Everybody was trying to read it. And we thought, this means Bobby Reed's going to be the starter instead of the incumbent Donovan, which ultimately did happen. That's what everybody thought the interesting twist was. As you look back, Gundy kind of backed away from it. But we now know at least what it was that he was so smitten over, don't we?
Yeah. He's been in love with Zach Robinson from the first time he saw him, and I think that's why he was so comfortable to make the switch last year whenever he felt that was necessary, and obviously he had most of his offensive staff ready to make the switch as well. So when they went to Zach Robinson, there was no turning back. They were ready to go with it.
The interesting thing that OSU is bringing to the spread is that run-pass option, and that's really what Robinson does so well. Why don't you think it worked well in Lubbock?
Well, the big problem was that the defense got behind. The offense struggled, had a couple of punts in the first half, right after they scored that first touchdown, and that enabled Texas Tech to go down and score some points. And then Oklahoma State was able to answer with one touchdown before halftime, but the defense still couldn't hold, and they ended up down 14 at halftime. They come out and they're moving the ball to start the third quarter, and Brandon Pettigrew has the fumble, and Texas Tech goes down and scores again. Now you're down 3, and you can't really have that balance whenever Oklahoma State really, though they score a lot, they're not necessarily a quick strike offense. A lot of their drives are slow, taking up a lot of time unless they hit a big strike somewhere because they run the ball so much. So they had to get away from that. They had to get away from their balance, which is really what makes this offense so successful. And once they do that and start having to throw the ball a lot, it really limits what they're able to do because it takes away the run game for Zach Robinson as well. And that's really two elements of your offense that you're missing at that point.
That's as much perception as it is reality, though, against Tech, isn't it? There's this feeling that when you're behind 3 touchdowns to Tech, it's more like 6.
Yeah.
And you could see OSU, start to do what all teams do out in Lubbock. But what doomed them more, in your opinion? Sort of their poor tackling or spotty tackling on defense, or the fact that they really couldn't stay with their running game long into the game.
Well, the defense really got them into the hole early, and then once they had to get away from the running game, it was all downhill from that point. Defensively, their inability to get really good pressure on Graham Harrell. Nobody has done that all season, so it's not a huge issue for this defense. But the inability to pressure him and then not making tackles in the open field. Tim Beckman said yesterday that half of Texas Tech's yards came after the catch or after contact.
And you're going to write about that later this
That's
week
right.
in the Oklahoman. Now on to Boulder. where the 8-2 Cowboys go to Colorado on Saturday, another Saturday night game, 7 o'clock on ABC regionally. What do the Cowboys need to be prepared for when they head up to Boulder?
Well, there's a couple of different things. For one, Colorado has gone to now to a 2-quarterback system with Dan Hawkins' son Cody and Tyler Hansen, who was a true freshman who pulled his red shirt to replace Cody earlier in the season. Hansen is more of a running quarterback. Hawkins is more of he's a better thrower, not a great thrower, but a better thrower and more of a field general that can really guide the offense. Hansen, obviously, as a true freshman, is still learning some of that stuff. On the other side of the ball, this is really a pretty talented defense, a pretty big defense. They've got big guys all across the line, 265, 270, even at the defensive end spots, which is pretty big for this league. Big linebackers and a pretty stout defense.
Do you think, now as we look back at this season, how interesting twist is a great word for it, because when the season started, this game was considered a toss-up. It was one of the 4 or 5 that we at the Oklahoman and people out there said, this is really what the season's going to turn on. Lo and behold, look in the paper today, the Cowboys are a 17.5-point favorite at Boulder. Is this a trap game?
It potentially, but I think the fact that they do have the bye week before Bedlam, it kind of eases the tension right there. They're coming off of a bad loss, and they're really hungry to get back on the field and get that taste out of their mouth. So I think that that this is going to turn out to be a good thing for them, to have another game to kind of erase those memories from Lubbock, and then have an extra week to prepare for the Bedlam game. I think it's going to end up setting up really well for them.
Okay, now the Cowboys go up there, and I wonder about their attitude about the altitude. You were in Boulder last year. The Sooners go up there. They really dismiss the thin air as a factor in the game, and then we watch the game, and in the fourth quarter, Colorado's offense is on the field the whole time. The defense looks gassed. What are the Cowboys saying about it?
Well, the thing with these guys, you've got Zach Robinson, who's from Colorado. Tongatea played junior college ball in Utah and practiced in the altitude a lot. T.J. Bell's brother, Tatum Bell, lives in Denver, played in Denver for a while. These guys know that it's a legit concern.
It is different.
Yeah, they know. T.J. Bell told the story that Tatum has a 3-story house, because basement and a second level. He said he went from the basement up to the upstairs level, and he was gassed just doing that. And he said he knew right then that this was a different atmosphere. Zach Robinson talked about the difference too. So these guys are aware of it. They're not denying it like OU was trying to do last year. And like you said, I was there and I saw those guys. They were out of breath a lot in that second half. So it's significant, and these guys seem to be accepting it. We'll see how they're able to handle it when they actually get up there. The key up there will be the defense being able to get off the field, which they obviously couldn't do against Texas Tech, and trying to conserve their energy and save their breath.
Thanks, Scott. Listen, Scott will be taking an in-depth look at the impact of altitude on Colorado football visitors in Saturday's editions of the New Look Oklahoman. And to follow all the news and analysis on OSU football, stay with the best coverage team anywhere at newsok.com.